you were listening when I was kind of giving my opinion on J.K. Dobbins. We kind of went back and forth in the text thread last night.
Fun.
So I want to give you an opportunity to give your take on the money that came down for J.K. Dobbins and why you're more of a fan of it than I am.
Yeah, that was fun, going back and forth with you and just having Henry and Benny sit on the sidelines and watch and drink it all in. But the reason I'm a fan of it, guys, if you remember last week, I said I would be okay paying J.K. Dobbins $8 million a year, and there was a lot of pushback, and I understood why. I mean, look, no one thought that the number was going to be that initially. I was fine with it, though, and the reason I'm okay with it is I actually think that this is a fine deal for both sides right here. It's essentially a 2-year, $16 million deal. The first year is fully guaranteed. So J.K. Dobbins is going to be on the team this year. That is no surprise. But that's it. It's a $1 million or 1 year, $8 million deal for the Broncos. And look, are you gambling on health? Yes. But what do we know about pretty much every single Super Bowl team is you have to hit the health right in order to win a Super Bowl. That happens with like 95% of the Super Bowl teams. So the Broncos are saying, this is our X factor this year. This is our Xfinity X factor, is J.K. Dobbins staying healthy. And when J.K. Dobbins is healthy, guys, he's one of the best in the NFL. And hey, there are $2 million of incentives built into both years to get 1,200 yards. And if he gets that, the Broncos are in the Super Bowl. They're winning the Super Bowl. And you are absolutely paying a guy like that $10 million for a season. And then look, if it goes the same way that it did last year, and he doesn't finish the season and you didn't get the productivity that you thought, which I don't think is going to be the case, then you're talking about picking up his option for another $8 million next year. I really like this on both sides because J.K. Dobbins is an incredible player. He just needs to stay healthy. And look, what I'll tell you from inside the Broncos building, why they're not worried about the health, it's everyone I talk to. And this is not a PR spin. This is truly how they feel inside the building. He got hurt on an illegal hip drop tackle last year, and it was a fluke injury. And, I'm sure there's people that are going to go back and say, well, is every single year a fluke injury? I don't know how they feel about that, but I know about how they feel last year, that it was an illegal hip drop tackle that got him hurt. When he was tackled legally for the first 9 games, he wasn't hurt. So that's the feeling inside the building is, man, we're not taking a gamble. This is our guy. And obviously they're going all in on him for this year.
Yeah, a couple just counterpoints. One, I agree on the fact that you have to be healthy to win a Super Bowl, but counting on a guy who always gets hurt to be healthy to win a Super Bowl is just, it's gambling. And I've already come to terms that we're gambling. I like gambling too. One other thing is the illegal hip drop tackles and all that. That's just going to happen. Like, the point is that somehow, some way, JK gets hurt all the time. I hope and pray that it doesn't happen this year, but whether it's a hip drop, it could be a late hit out of bounds. Like, it doesn't necessarily change the fact that during football games, he gets hurt. And so I don't really understand that part of it from the Broncos, because like there's no saying that he won't get hip drop tackled in the first game of the season on the first carry.
Sure, but now let me throw a couple of other things out to you. The NFL, every player says it's 100% injury rate. You get injured, just the extent that it is. Can you play through that injury or be hurt? You look at the guy who I believe you wanted and a lot of fan base wanted, Kenneth Walker. He has played 12 or more games half of his career. Now that's 12 or games, so it means two seasons he has played more than that, which I understand is a higher rate than JK has. But you're taking a gamble there with Kenneth Walker and the injuries right there. Now Travis Etienne, if you wanted to go that route, okay, he's a guy that has been very, very healthy. But I mean, you're still taking a gamble on Etienne or on Kenneth Walker. It just might be a slightly less gamble, but there's a gamble right there. And the other thing is, Ryan, I heard you right before I joined the show. You said, man, it's a lot of money to pay because I thought if you were going to go out and get JK, there might also be a plan B that you have. When the Broncos signed J.K. Dobbins last year, it was very well known inside the building, and it didn't come out until obviously the season played out, but it was very well known inside the building that he was their starting running back, and there was no question about it. And then that continued throughout the season. Bringing J.K. back, whatever his contract was going to be, whether it was this contract, whether it was 1 year, $4 million, he was going to be the starting running back without a doubt. And this also just shows you how they feel about R.J. Harvey. George Payton said at the Combine, look, we think RJ Harvey still could be a 3-down running back for us. Well, unfortunately, I'm touching wood right here. If JK does get hurt, he's going to have that opportunity because he's going to be that guy. Now, the Broncos are still going to use a 4th-round pick, 3rd-round pick, 5th-round pick on a running back to add to that room because they still need a number 3. They still need a guy that can potentially take over the inside running if JK does get hurt this year. But they're all in on RJ Harvey. And you say, well, that's what George Payton said at the Combine. Look at the other things George Payton said at the Combine. He said, if we lose Justin Sternad and Alex Singleton, what are we doing? They bring those two back right there. I mean, George Payton has been very upfront about what the Broncos are going to do. So there's no doubt, however this contract was structured, that JK was going to be the guy.
Do you think that there's a chance the Broncos will sign a free agent from another team today? Because
yes,
I would hope
so.
Okay.
I think there's a very good chance of that, Henry. And it's kind of crazy how free agency goes. Like wave 1 of free agency used to be the entire first week, and you'd still get big splashes on Thursday, Friday, sometimes even Saturday. I remember the Broncos, I believe, signed DJ Jones on a Saturday, and that was like, okay, we're giving this guy some good money. Now the first wave of free agency is like the first 12 hours. And now the second round, there's still a couple of guys that are going to get paid. Obviously not on the Broncos' radar, like a Trey Hendrickson and those guys. But now we've already entered wave 2 of free agency. And guys, this is where championship teams are built for the most part. How about this stat right here? Of players that sign with different teams in free agency, 5% of those guys go on to make the Pro Bowl their first year with the next team. A 1 in 20 chance that you are going to sign a player who goes on and makes the Pro Bowl. And we're talking about the guys that are getting big-time money yesterday, the Devin Lloyds, all of those guys that got paid yesterday. 5% chance that those guys are going to go on and make the Pro Bowl. So what the Broncos did in 2013 and 2014 when they went out and got 4 Pro Bowlers that very first year, that's been done one other time in NFL history. But Broncos fans need to just praise that and think about how much of a miracle that was, because that is not real history. The real history that goes back more than just, looking at one class is that 5% of guys go on to make the Pro Bowl. How you win in the NFL is different than every other sport. You win in the NFL by drafting and developing. And you know why the Broncos were so bad for 10 years? Is because they did not draft well and they did not develop well. You know why they're starting to become good now? Is because they're drafting and developing. And then they're hitting on these free agent signings that they have. When they have made splashes, they hit on Zach Allen, without a doubt. They hit on DJ Jones. They hit on Malcolm Roach. And then they're also drafting these guys and paying these guys to stay. So this is truly where successful teams are built, is wave 2 of free agency, not wave 1. I mean, you just want to look at it. The teams that spent the most in free agency yesterday, the Raiders, the Titans, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Colts. One of those teams made the playoffs last year, and they had a losing record when they did make the playoffs last year. So true sustained success is not by winning day 1 of free agency.
Completely agree on that. And the Broncos have spent a lot of money keeping good players around that they drafted and developed, which should be praised and has been praised when it happened. We just lost a little bit of perspective. Mm-hmm. What position do you think that they would be looking to approach or attack if they were to go out and get a free agent today or in the next couple days?
Yeah, I think there's 2 that I've been hearing buzz on. It's wide receiver, and obviously we've heard some reports about the Broncos being interested in Romeo Dobbs. We heard him being interested in Kendrick Bourne before he signed somewhere else. And then defensive line is the other position, and it makes sense. With John Franklin Myers moving on, the Broncos don't have to go out and get a starting defensive lineman, but they're in a position where they can go out and get a plug-and-play defensive lineman to be a starter, to be a backup, because they really like what they have in Eni Uwazurike, and how can you not when he played really well. And then also Savion Jones, but that's a spot where there's some vets out there where it's a 1-year deal that it's not a prove-it deal. It's a 1-year deal to come in and just be that guy that the Broncos need there. Calais Campbell, a guy we talked about last week. If you want to go Cam Jordan, that's a name obviously connected with Sean Payton. But there's a lot of good defensive linemen out there that aren't flashy players that the Broncos, it'd make a perfect sense for a day 2 signing. So that and wide receiver, and I know there's some questions about the wide receiver spot right there. It's clear the Broncos want to add some veteran presence there.
Yeah, I'm curious how this plays out. The receivers, like Romeo Dobbs, doesn't excite me. And I'm not sure what they'd actually do there, but given all the rumors we've heard, it sounds like they're going to do something. What do you think, Zach? Could they be in the market for a bigger name? Is it just finding a fifth guy?
Yeah, I mean, from conversations I've had in the past 12, 18 hours, it's likely going to be that wave two sort of signing that the Broncos are going to have. So it's not going to be a blow you away name, but it's probably going to be a name where people are like, okay, Broncos just got a good player. Let's see the price. Okay, at a good price as well. So that's what I think the Broncos do. I do think they make some moves today and potentially as the week goes on as well. And it's going to be those wave two type of players that it's not going to blow you out of your seat, but it's the responsible moves that the Broncos have. And right now, I think we're still waiting on contract numbers to come out, but they're sitting right around 15, 20-ish million dollars. And again, you still got to build out your roster with that money, and you still have to pay draft picks. Broncos have 9 draft picks in this class, so they're going to be looking at, I don't know, $6, $7, $8 million that they need to save for the draft class. So it's crazy how quickly money goes. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that, Ryan. The 6, 7. It's quickly how money goes when you're building a team. And then also when you pay guys like $400 million worth of contracts like they have over the past 18 months, the money's staying inside this team.
Yeah. Well,
Great stuff, Zach.
great stuff as always, Zach. We'll see you tomorrow.
Right
That
on.
was Zach Stevens
Thanks,
on the
fellas.
Xfinity mobile call-in line. Imagine that.